Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm talking with Vince Cogliano, Jr., who is running for Congress in the 9th District, which includes the Cape and Islands. He is looking to unseat the incumbent, Bill Keating. We are focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. Among the races that will have a contested primary is the 9th Congressional seat. 4 Republicans are running to unseat Congressman Keating, and Vince Cogliano is one of them. The primary will determine which of them will appear on the general election ballot in November. Vince, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Let's start with your background. Tell us about yourself and what you do for a living.
Well, I'm a businessman. Over the years, I've started 4 businesses, starting out with a restaurant. Then I started a technology company. And the last 2 companies I started were auto loan companies, and that's where I'm working now. Is I'm running the one started 10 years ago, and my office is located here in Norwell, Massachusetts.
Now, you're running in the Republican primary. Tell me about your political philosophy and why you decided to run for Congress.
Well, I decided to run. I've had some experience. I was a selectman in Pembroke for 2 terms, 6 years. I've also helped on a lot of other campaigns in that. But the reason I'm running is because the business I run now, a little over 3 years ago, had 54 employees, and we were growing. Now we have fewer than 30. And you don't start a business in order to lay people off. And small business across America, certainly here in Massachusetts, is struggling. I talk to an awful lot of people who run businesses, and they're just hanging on. They're keeping their head above water, but things really aren't improving as much as they should be. And I'm running because I don't think either party in Washington is doing enough to help small businesses, and small business employs most Americans.
And talking about what you feel are the biggest issues on the Cape Islands and South Coast that you could influence if you were a congressman.
Well, I think jobs is the primary focus. I mean, companies aren't hiring people on the Cape. I hear so many people on the Cape talking about that their families love living on the Cape, but if they want to work, their children have to go find a job elsewhere after they graduate from college. And again, I think it really comes down to government getting out of the way and letting business grow and start up and hire people. And that will help people on the Cape and off Cape as well, because I keep hearing people saying we're in a recovery, but I don't meet any business people, small business in particular, who agree with that. So I think the thing that I can do most for the people of the 9th Congressional District is tax reform. We need corporate tax reform. We need individual tax reform. We need to get rid of a lot of rules and regulations that hamper businesses from either starting or hiring people, and that goes for Obamacare, which is probably one of the worst pieces of legislation that's happened to the people of America. And we need to have energy reform as well, because we need to try to move towards energy independence. And if we do that, it will help business, it'll help the economy, people will have jobs, and when you have a job, you have freedom.
Now, your thoughts on some other issues in the region. Here on the Cape, we talk a lot about wastewater and the challenges of providing clean water and how to clean up our estuaries. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of efforts being made in that direction, particularly with regional organizations. When I was a selectman, we worked on setting up a water resource board that encompassed several towns. And I think regional organizations that watch over the groundwater and things like that. In Pembroke, for instance, we have a lot of ponds where you have runoff that goes into those ponds from either highways or from residences that affect the water supply. And I think that's true in all of the areas of the 9th Congressional District. So I favor having regional water resource boards that look at that and work instead instead of having all these little tiny organizations, the larger ones I think have a better chance for success because they can attract federal money in that to be looking at ways to help clean the water supply and to make sure that the water supplies in the ponds and lakes in the 9th Congressional District stay clean. And I know that that's been an emphasis that we've had in Pembroke for a long time because we have so many lakes in the area with Duxbury, Pembroke, and Hanson sharing a lot of lakes in the area. And we supply a great deal of water for Brockton as well. So I've been, up on those issues for many, many years, and it's something that all of the areas in the 9th Congressional are going to have to focus on in the future.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. I'm talking with Vince Cogliano, who is running for Congress in the 9th District, which includes the Cape and Islands. Talking some more about the top issues of the day. I think you mentioned it earlier in the interview briefly. The nation's immigration policy. What are your feelings on that?
Well, we have a lot of rules and regulations on immigration policy, but we don't do a very good job of enforcing them. Other countries do. Mexico certainly does, and many other countries do, but we don't seem to do a very good job of doing that. I don't think it's a problem of whether or not we have immigration. People seem to want to frame the argument in that if you want border security, you're anti-immigration, and that's the kind of rhetoric that gets in the way of really solving problems. No one who wants to secure the border that I know of wants to stop legal immigration. But we do need to change the rules on legal immigration. For instance, the HB-1 visa program only allows about 60,000 people a year into this country. And many of the people who come in on that program have master's degrees and they have computer science degrees, and that they're the type of people who can help create jobs. We don't seem to want to allow people like that in the country, but we do have a porous border where people with no skills or few skills are allowed to freely cross the border. And that's not the right thing to do. We do need reform, but first we need to secure the border. In a speech on the Cape not too long ago, I asked everyone to give me the keys to their house. Just leave them on a table so I could have them, so I could come and go as I pleased, to come into your home and watch your TV and eat your food and do whatever I want. And by the way, it's okay with you, I'll give those keys out to all my friends who work in law enforcement so they can give it to some criminals as well. And everyone in the audience, obviously, they thought it was funny, but they said they would never give their keys to their house to let someone come in unannounced and unwelcome. Yet we do that with our borders. So no one is saying we don't want immigrants in this country. We do. We just want to decide who it is we allow in. So I think we need border security before we have any real reform.
And in the last couple of minutes that we have left, can you talk about what distinguishes you from the other Republican candidates running? There are 4 of you. And what were any final thoughts that you'd like voters to know about you?
Well, I'm the only candidate who has served in the military. I'm the only candidate who has served as a selectman and gotten elected to an office such as selectman. I'm the only candidate who's ever started a business or worked in a business. So I think I have a lot of experience that is relevant to what's happening today in our economy, and someone who has a lot of ideas about how to make jobs more available to people. Again, I really believe that all of our freedoms come from having the jobs that are available to everyone, and that if I don't like a job that you're offering me or that I'm working for you and you're not treating me right, I can go somewhere else and get another job. Right now, that's not available to Americans because there aren't enough jobs. So my experience in government and in the private sector give me a leg up, I think, on the other candidates to be able to go to Washington and actually do something about the economy to make it better.
And unfortunately, we are out of time. Vince, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.